My disabled daughter's yell made my blood run cold. I ran outside to see her hanging from a street lamp, the HOA Karen snapping pics below. "This is what you get when you disobey rules," she yelled duck, before watching full vids. Comment below from where you viewing. Also, like and subscribe for more tales. Remove that ugly banner. Now I turned to see Mrs. Baker, the HOA president, hurrying towards us, her face red with rage. My daughter Sarah, who was in her wheelchair, dropped the birthday sign she made for me. Her hands were shaking. "We're just having a small party for my birthday," I said calmly. Inside I was getting angry, but I tried to stay calm as an FBI agent for 15 years. I had dealt with worse people, but something about Mrs. Baker made my blood boil. "You didn't get permission?" Mrs. Baker waved a paper in my face. "No decorations permitted without HOA approval." "It's in the rules." Sarah began to cry. "But it's Dad's birthday." "I don't care whose birthday it is." Mrs. Baker cut her off, not even glancing at my daughter. "Rules are rules in that wheelchair." She pointed at Sarah's wheelchair with a look of disgust. "Should be kept inside. It makes our street look bad." I stepped forward, my voice very quiet but firm. "Mrs. Baker, please leave our yard now and never speak about my daughter like that again." Mrs. Baker laughed a cold, mean laugh. "Or what?" "I run this neighborhood, Agent Wilson. Your FBI badge means nothing here." She turned to my daughter. "You have 30 minutes to take all this junk down, or I'll remove it myself," as she walked away in her fancy shoes. I knelt beside Sarah, who was crying quietly. "It's okay, honey," I whispered, wiping away her tears. "We can relocate the party to the backyard." "It's not fair, Dad," Sarah stated, her voice firmer than I anticipated. "She always does this." Last month, she got Mr. and Mrs. Chen to take down their Chinese New Year ornaments. And before that, she got Mr. Johnson to take down his rainbow flag. "She bullies everyone who's different," I nodded. Understanding my daughter was in the right for 2 years, Mrs. Baker had employed HOA rules to bully anyone she disliked. Despite numerous complaints, the board, full of her friends, had taken no action. "Let's celebrate your birthday, Dad," Sarah said, finally managing a smile. "Don't let her spoil it." We went to the backyard where some neighbors and my co-workers also joined us. The party continued, but I could tell Sarah was becoming quieter as time passed. My friend Tom, who was also an FBI agent, stopped by with a drink in his hand. "That Baker woman giving you trouble again?" he said softly. "Yeah." I let out a breath. She threatened. Sarah this time told her, "Wheelchair makes the neighborhood look bad." Tom's face flushed with rage. "She's crossed the line mark last week. She left a note on my door stating my son's basketball hoop was unapproved sports equipment. The kid is just trying to prepare for the school team." I wasn't shocked. She's been bullying everyone for 2 years now. No one stands up to her because her husband is a judge. Or not. What she's doing isn't right. Tom said, "You know, we've been hearing rumors about Judge Baker at the office. Some of his rulings don't make sense. Letting dangerous people go free for weak reasons." I nodded. "I've heard the same. The corruption team has been watching him, but they don't have enough proof yet." Around 4 p.m. Sarah said she was exhausted and wished to rest. Following the cake and gifts, I escorted her in and settled her down before returning to our visitors. 20 minutes later, I heard a dreadful shriek. I rushed into the house and followed the noise to our front lawn. What I saw left me speechless. Sarah was suspended from our street lamp, her wheelchair overturned below her. Mrs. Baker had used Sarah's wheelchair restraints to hoist her 6 feet above the ground. Sarah's face was flushed as she struggled to escape. Wailing for help, below her stood Mrs. Baker, snapping photographs with her mobile phone. "This is what happens when you breach HOA regulations," she yelled at the stunned people standing around. "Let this serve as a lesson to all of you about obeying regulations." During all my years with the FBI, I had witnessed horrid things, but nothing could have prepared me for seeing my own child treated like this, used to frighten others. I rushed forward. "Get her down now," I cried, reaching up to hold Sarah while Tom and another agent ran to assist. "Oh, please," Mrs. Baker rolled her eyes, stepping back. "She's okay. Just showing her a lesson about respect. Children today need to learn." We slowly got Sarah down. She fell into me, sobbing hard. "She told me I was making the neighborhood ugly," Sarah whispered. "She told me I should be kept hidden." Something shattered within me. At that moment, I handed Sarah. "Before I arrest you," I said, My voice deadly calm, Mrs. Baker laughed. Arrest me for what? Upholding neighborhood regulations. My husband is Judge Baker. Touch me, and your job is gone by Monday. I drew out my phone and displayed the video my home security cameras had sent to my phone. The video clearly demonstrated Mrs. Baker coming towards Sarah as she sat alone in the front yard screaming at her, then picking her up from her wheelchair and hanging her on the lamppost while my daughter cried for help. Mrs. Baker, you're under arrest for assault and harming a disabled child, I said as two of my friends stepped to restrain her. Mrs. Baker's face went white. She glanced around, suddenly finding herself surrounded by FBI agents who had attended my party. This is insane. I was upholding HOA regulations, Mrs. Baker shrieked as Tom read her rights. Do you have any idea who my husband is? You can't do this. Our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, who had been standing on her porch, stepped forward. I witnessed everything she said. I've been too afraid to speak out before, but not anymore. She's been terrorizing all of us for years. Mr. Chan from across the street nodded. She threatened to charge us $1,000 for our Chinese New Year decorations, told them they were too ethnic for this neighborhood. One by one, neighbors began telling stories of Mrs. Baker's bullying. It was like a dam had broken as Mrs. Baker was placed in a police car. I returned to Sarah, who was being assisted by Mrs. Collins, a neighbor who was a nurse. She shook her up, but not hurt badly, said Mrs. Collins, glancing Sarah's arms where the straps had been. She's a very brave girl. Is she going to jail? Dad, Sarah asked in a little voice. Yes, honey, for a very long time. I promised, holding her close. No one will ever hurt you like that again. That night, after all the guests had gone home, and Sarah was asleep, I sat in my home office, making calls first to my boss, Director Jenkins, who was angry when he heard what occurred. Wilson, I want you to take charge of this investigation. Personally, he said. If Judge Baker is corrupt and his wife is beating disabled children, I want them both in jail. The next morning, while Sarah was still asleep, I assembled a team at the FBI office by noon. Agents were raiding the Baker's house, the judge's chambers, and the houses of all the HOA board members. What we discovered stunned everybody. Judge Baker had a secret bank account containing millions of dollars. He had been embezzling money to release guilty individuals. Mrs. Baker used the HOA regulations and charges to assist in concealing the money they earned, millions of dollars. Doing so, we discovered a notebook in which Mrs. Baker logged problem neighbors she wished to displace. Sarah and I were at the top of her list. She had written Wilson FBI agent 2. Nosy disabled daughter, I saw a fine way to get the story. Was on all the news. FBI agents, disabled daughter, attacked by HOA president in big crime case. The Bakers were being charged with crimes that would send them to jail for decades. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to make more drastic changes, working with attorneys who assist disabled individuals. We sued the HOA on behalf of every individual who had been bullied. The evidence was clear. Text messages, emails, and meeting notes revealed. They attempted to drive out families with disabled members, people of different races, and gay couples. Sarah bravely spoke about what occurred in court. She sat in her wheelchair staring straight at Mrs. Baker as she recounted what occurred. It felt like I couldn't breathe, Sarah said quietly. Not just because I was hanging there, but because someone disliked me so much. Simply because I was different. 3 months later, Mrs. Baker sat in court in an orange jail uniform. Instead of her elaborate clothes, the judge imposed her sentence, 12 years behind bars for attacking Sarah and being involved in the bribery racket. Your acts were so unkind, the judge stated. Employing your power to inflict injury on the weakest members of your community, including a disabled child, is an act of cruelty this court seldom finds. Her husband, Judge Baker, received 20 years for accepting bribes and aiding criminals by using his position as guards led her away. Mrs. Baker turned to me. For the first time, I saw fear in those cold eyes that had once gazed at my daughter with such malice. The HOA was closed down, and the neighborhood formed a new committee with rules against bullying. The street lamp where Sarah had been hung was removed and replaced with a playground that all kids could access, even those in wheelchairs. Sarah spent months in therapy getting over her fear and trauma. Some nights she would wake up screaming as if she were hanging again. I would hold her until she fell asleep again, assuring her that she was safe now. Gradually, she began to heal. She started a blog about her experience, which helped other disabled children who had been bullied. She became a voice for children who couldn't speak for themselves. 1 year after the attack, Sarah addressed a crowd at the dedication of the new playground. She wore a vivid blue dress and flowers in her hair as I escorted her wheelchair to the front. The crowd cheered. "Last year on my dad's birthday, I learned how cruel people are," she began, her voice firm. "But I also learned how strong justice is. That lamppost, which once harmed me, now doesn't exist. In its place is a park where all the children are invited." She glanced over at the playground, where children of all abilities were already playing together in our new playground. There are ramps so children in wheelchairs can play too. There are special swings for children who require extra help. There are quiet areas for children who get stressed by noise. This is what a true community looks like, a place where everyone belongs. She smiled at me. "My dad always said bad people may appear strong for a time, but good will always triumph." In the end, I didn't quite believe him until I saw it occur myself. Everyone applauded as Sarah cut the ribbon to open the playground, seeing her surrounded by friends and neighbors who had finally mustered courage to speak out. I felt a profound peace. Sarah had turned from a victim into a helper, taking what was done to her and making it better for someone else. That night, as I tucked Sarah into bed, something we still did, despite she told me she was too old for it, she clung to my hand. "Dad," she whispered, "remember what that mean woman said? I make the neighborhood look bad?" "Don't even think about that, sweetie," I told, combing her hair back. "No, it's all right," Sarah said with a little smile. "I looked online because she went to prison and the new team moved in. Houses here are more valuable money. It happens people like to live in areas where everybody's accepted and leaders are not criminals." I laughed, surprised at how strong my daughter was. "You're great. You know that I learned it from you," she said, yawning. "Best birthday gift ever, by the way." "What gift?" I asked. "Muddled up arresting bad people and fixing our community up?" Sarah said drowsily. "Much better than the watch we got you," as she dozed off. I reflected on how a single cruel action had resulted in so much goodness. Mrs. Baker had viewed my daughter as an easy mark. She never assumed she was tampering with the child of an FBI agent who arrested influential criminals for a living. But above all, she never realized that true strength isn't based on power or control. It's all about coming back from tough times and making something good out of pain, just like Sarah did by attempting to maintain control. Mrs. Baker had really initiated something that transformed our entire community. The lamppost where she hung, my daughter was no more, now replaced by children laughing and playing, children on foot, on bicycles, and in wheelchairs all together, in an area where everyone fit in. And that was a lesson Karen would have 12 long years in jail to reflect on.